Welcome to Put It Together live stream. I'm your host, Daniel G. Garza, and Happy New Year to everybody. This is our first episode of 2024, and I'm so excited to be back. We are gearing up for a pretty busy season, I hope. We got some cool guests lined up, and we're still taking suggestions. So if you want to be a guest on the show, if you know somebody who wants to be a guest on the show, please send them our way. We want to welcome all our friends watching us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Thank you for watching. If you're watching on Facebook or LinkedIn, please do us a favor. Share this on your page so that other folks can watch along with us, with you. If you're watching us on YouTube, scroll down, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. It'll let you know every time there's a new show on the air. Remember, we've got several things working here at Little Mexican Productions, Inc. On Wednesdays, we've got Christian and Daniel's show. Back on Saturdays. And we've moved. If you're noticing, we've moved to 10 o'clock in the morning. We used to be on at noon Pacific. We're now at 10. So adjust your clocks and make sure you join us every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. for another episode of Put It Together live stream. On Mondays, we're posting the horoscope. So make sure you check those out on all of our social media pages. And we started the new series that I started right before the holidays, and it kind of took off. People have been watching, and I if you're watching, I'm guessing you're enjoying it. I haven't got anything negative. Actually, yes, I did get one negative comments, but hey, if you're posting, that means people are watching, so I'll take it. But it's called Daniel's Days. And it's really thank you to the National Today pages. I've talked about them plenty. I go to their page and find out what we're celebrating on the day. And then I make a short little 60-second video and post it. So make sure you check those out. Please like them and follow, which today is January 6th, 2024. Today is Three Kings Day. So if you are any of the countries that celebrates it, like we do in Mexico, we have the Rosca de Reyes, with the little baby Jesus inside. And what you do is it's a big round king's cake. They do those for Mardi Gras as well. Has a little baby Jesus hidden inside. When you cut it, if you get the piece that has the baby Jesus, you have to throw a party for all of your friends. So I hope that if you are part of the traditions, you're somewhere enjoying those and you like them. So happy King's Day to everybody. Thank you for joining us. Today's guest, I'm really excited. I got to meet our guest today through Alignable. I've talked about Alignable a lot, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And he quickly became just a really good friend. Somebody that I could, before I read his bio, he's just somebody that I could talk to, I could relate to, both business and personal. And we have some really good conversations. Definitely always makes you laugh. So let me tell you about Kevin. And we just, he's going to laugh when he comes on because we just went through like a 10-minute session on just how to say his last name. And I'm going to probably mess it up. So Kevin Coutu is a managing director with APLGO. Before joining APLGO, Kevin had several businesses in the audio, video tech, event management, and theater industries. Some of his most recognized clients include TIFF, Toronto Metropolitan University, and Heather Bambrick. He has also worked for high-profile individuals from exclusive neighborhoods in Toronto, Canada. All of this work came to an abrupt halt in March of 2020. During this downtime, Kevin reevaluated his career paths and was searching for the next opportunity that would not have the same vulnerabilities his previous companies did. This was when he was introduced to APLGO, where his entry into health and wellness began. He is building a solid business and has had success in many different countries, helping people improve their health and finances. And without further ado, bring Kevin up. Hi, Kevin.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And you're right. You did mess it up.
The audacity.
I know. And it's just so it's APLGO.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's an abbreviation of various words as opposed to a nonsensical word.
Well, I figured it's what it was, but I mean, like many other people, they just call it out. See, folks, he just came on the show, not even 1 minute, and already he's on my butt about things. So please join us. uh, so say your full last name, say your full name so people can hear it from you.
Kevin Coutu.
Coutu. And that's what I said,
No,
Coutu.
no. So it's okay. It's okay. You said it with your, like you said before, you said it with your Mexican accent.
Mexican accent. You know, every once in a while, people think like I'm 53 years old. I've been in this country for 50 years, and every once in a while, there's certain words that I want to say in Spanish, and it comes.
I can understand. So my last name is French, and I lived in a town that was predominantly, well, that's not entirely the truth. There's a lot of French people who lived in my town, and as a result, we started French classes much earlier than your average municipality in Canada. So we started in grade 1. So there was words that I learned in French before I learned them in English. One of those was, oh no, goodness, it's out of my head. Anyways, there was a word that was, and so I can relate. There was a word that I learned in French first, and then when I learned it in English, I was pronouncing it as I would in French, and it took me a while to get it right to pronounce it in English. And by the end of this live stream, I'm sure I will remember it and I will burst it out, and you'll know what I'm talking about. Hopefully,
y'all will all know when you hear a random word,
right?
Kevin, it's not Tourette's or anything. He remembered the word he was talking about.
That's right. That's right. And you know, thank you so much for inviting me to your live stream. I know we're going to have a lot of fun. I've enjoyed our conversations that we've had together. We tease each other endlessly and giggle along the way. So anytime that there is a correction or a lob across the bow that you may hear between the two of us, no, it's with all respect and love, and we do it just to make each other laugh.
There was, as I mentioned, for those of you, if you're interested, we're both part of Alignable. Kevin is a co-admin. Y'all have heard me talk about Alignable many times. I've had many a guest come from Alignable, but I am the co-admin of two groups, the Latinx business page and the LGBTQIA2S page. And that's how actually Kevin was part of both groups. I was like, why are you in the Latin group infiltrating, white people? But then when I was asked to choose for a co-admin and I announced it that I needed somebody, and several people stepped up and emailed me and messaged me. It's like, yeah, I want to do it. But I was like, no, I need somebody that I can actually get along with, that I don't have to like be concerned about how I say things or if they come off. And Kevin was there. So you were awesome.
Awesome. Thank you. And I remembered the word.
Okay.
Formidable.
En
français, it's formidable.
Formidable.
So I was a really hard time because the pronunciations are, like I was teaching you with my last name, the pronunciations are completely different. Formidable, formidable, the syllables are pronounced emphasized differently.
So, but yeah, I get it, because even, okay, I know for the folks, I was like, what are y'all talking about? We're going to get into the interview in just a second. When I first came back from school in Mexico, chemistry, because in Spanish it's química with a Q, and I don't know why that word was like part of my regular at that time, but I kept writing chemistry with a Q, and people were like, "What is he writing?" And people who knew to not correct me anymore. They were just like, "That's how he's going to do it." Until finally, I Googled it. When Google came, I was like, "Oh, I've been writing it wrong for like 10 years." The people that worked with you were just like, "Oh, that's Garza. Just let him do it."
Right. Well, it's especially when you're younger and you got two languages in your brain, it's going to take a while.
Yeah. And then now I'm doing Italian on Duolingo, and sometimes you have to type in the word, and sometimes I type in Spanish, and somehow Duolingo accepts it. Like, okay, like cucina and cocina. In Spanish is cocina, in Italian is cucina. with an O instead of a U. Anyway, and Duolingo's like, it's Garza. We'll take it.
You've got the entire world is set up.
Yeah,
That's
it's
okay.
like
Don't worry, it's Garza.
it's just him. Like, let him do it. But yes, thank you for coming on the show. I've wanted to have you on the show since we met, and it just hadn't worked out until now. But we, without further, tell us, Kevin, how you put it together.
Well, it's as my bio said, I spent a number of years in Toronto working basically with events. So it was doing tech in either theater or in church or for special concerts and that kind of stuff. I was planning events. I was helping on-site manage events, and basically everything had to do with getting large groups of people together. And that's how I spent my career, and I loved it. I loved the independence of managing my own time. I loved the constant change that was happening every time. Every event was different, and I really thought that was going to that's what I was going to do for the rest of my life. And then, as I said, and then that fateful day in March hit. I remember the thing that strikes me the most is when the basketball game was canceled. Not that I'm a huge sports fan, but that was a pretty significant event. And that was also the same time that the last event that I was working on was canceled. I was working on doing the tech setup for the National Ballet Company in Toronto, and we got everything set up. And the next morning, I got a phone call saying we need to go back in, not to run the event, but to tear it down because the event was canceled. And that was the last event that I set up. So I spent that following month thinking what I was going to do, hoping just like the rest of the world that, this is going to go away in a month. And as we know, that didn't happen. I had to convince or have basically like a internal conversation. What am I going to do? What's my next step? How long can I last without income paying for my mortgage? And decided that at the end of summer that I needed to sell. So I sold my condo, moved back into my close to my hometown where I grew up with family. I thought if I was going to pay rent, I might as well pay rent to family as opposed to paying rent to a stranger, considering right now everybody was having a hard time. And then started to fall into a depression. Sat on the couch, didn't do anything, played games, watched TV, wondering what I was going to do for the rest of my life. Till a very good friend of mine reached out, and she sent me an email talking to me about nutritious candy. What do you mean nutritious candy? That sounds ridiculous. What kind of snake oil are you trying to sell me, Joby? And she sent me a video, and she sent me some information, and I watched it and I read it, and I was like, well, the science seems to work. Like it makes sense. I started to be excited about something. I started to, hey, look, I have something a project I can work on, something that I can believe in, something that is completely different from anything that I've done before. I've really never been in the health and wellness world before. I just jumped in and started my business with APLGO.
Nice. Yeah, when I read your bio first, I was like, I think for everybody, we'll forever be in the "do you remember where you were" moment when we all went into that. Particularly for those of us that already had like our own businesses going, and we're like, now what do I do? Do you remember? I mean, you opened up about it, but do you remember like your self conversation, sitting down and going, okay, where do we go now?
Right. Well, yeah. Well, I remember the feelings of especially in the very beginning when you realized it wasn't ending after that first month. And I I used to watch a lot of dystopic movies. Like I love, I think, The Maze and The Hunger Games, and like all of these the world has fallen apart, and what happens next, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we're entering those times. and I literally couldn't watch those movies anymore because I'm like, I'm living it. I just so that's totally where my brain went. I went to, oh my God, this is the end of civilization. Get ready, we're about to be fighting in the streets. Um, Fortunately, as it turned out, that never happened. But that was where my brain first went, and that was even before the depression hit. And um, in the very beginning, I still thought, if we do come out of this, though, I'll just go back to what I was doing. There was no thought in the very beginning that I would be having to completely change and look for something completely different.
You, you sound to have a very resilient, resourceful type of energy. If, am I right in that?
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
Um, I'd have, you know, I would say a lot of it has to do with growing up gay, growing up othered, growing up bullied. Um, yeah, it makes you have a thick skin. You grow up and you leave the town that you grew up in, you go to the big city, and you're pretty much alone. You're the one that's cooking your food, you're the one that's sewing the holes in your clothes, you're the one that's fixing your car. You're building, you're learning the tasks. It's not like the typical um heteronormative, and no offense to anybody who is heteronormative out there, but it's not I get married and one person does this work and the other person does that work. You're kind of on your own to do it all. And that's kind of the way I wanted to live my life when I first moved to Toronto. I didn't like asking for help. Um, and I think it's that created the resilience. Also, I was Generation X. I was a latchkey kid. I'd come home from school. No one would be home. I'd make myself a snack. I'd watch TV. I'd do homework. I did it all by myself. So when COVID hit and we couldn't go anywhere, I was used to being home alone, used to doing it for myself, and used to watching. You know what I mean? It wasn't really that much of a social shock in terms of the social cutoff that we all had for me.
Yeah. I was just having this conversation right before we came on when Kevin came into the studio. Excuse me. I was hanging up with a friend of mine. Excuse me. Pardon me. I
Oh,
guess the universe was like, "Don't talk about that." But keep talking about your story while I get this cop out of the way.
yeah, for sure, for sure. So, when I discovered what the product was, that it was this candy that you basically put under your tongue, you let it dissolve, and the nutrients that are in it get absorbed into your blood through your mucous membrane. That's the kind of the key part that really connected with me. I had taken sublingual type medication before for like anti-nauseant or something like that. You put it under your tongue and it's quickly absorbed. I also noticed, what I recognized is that those pills that you would take that go under your tongue tend to be smaller because there's less medication required. So it made sense to me that if something had a lot of phytonutrients in it, that you're going to get a great deal out of that when you put it under your tongue and you let it absorb. What I found out later is that the absorption rate is up to 99% compared to a pill or a tablet that's around 24%. So it's a more efficient way of getting nutrients and stuff into your blood system than any other means. And that's the thing
And
that really that's the science part that sold it for me.
and I want to touch a little bit. We're going to bring up the website and talk about it, and I have the one of my boxes here, but I wanted to also talk because a lot of folks, even today, and I wrote down in my notes here the PTSD of because PTSD used to be so reserved for a certain group of people or certain jobs, but post COVID, a lot of us are in that mode. I was diagnosed with PTSD, but due to health issues Anyway, different topic. But also to acknowledge the fact that when things got rough and you were like, I needed to do something different, but not make it work. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I'm sorry, not make it a job. I want to go work on something that makes me happy, that I'm connected to. Because there might be somebody watching this either live today or on replay. They're like, I'm looking for something to connect with, and it might be this, it may be something else. But what was it for you that you said, okay, this I feel it. I feel that this is something that I can do well.
I'd have to, in reference to the PTSD that you made, I can actually take that a little bit further back to even before I started my businesses in event planning and events. As a entrepreneur, not as an employee. I used to work for a company where I was an event planner, and it was not, it didn't end well. And I wasn't really interested in going back into an employee environment where I would be controlled or abused or in a negative environment like that. I wanted the freedom to be able to manage myself, and if it was a contract that I was in and there was a negative experience in the contract, I would know that it was going to end and I wouldn't have to go back the very next day. So that was kind of what set me up to be, I want to do my own work. I want to do my own business. After COVID hit, I considered going back into an employee environment, but I was so hesitant because of that experience that I had. I didn't want to put my brain through that again. It took a lot of work to get over that, right? Um, I would walk by the name of that company and I would have an anxiety attack when I first was working through this. And I had to work myself through to the point where it's like, it doesn't bother me anymore. They're not, I had to basically look at that trigger that I had and say to myself, they're not going to change their name. So you're going to see that name. So you, Kevin, need to work through this. You need to get over it. And I just went in a deep dive, and through meditation and thinking and working it through and almost subjecting myself to that name, I made it through to the other side. And so I think that helped me in this whole transition from COVID into doing what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, and I can relate to that. There's companies that I worked for before the lockdown that I'm like, nope, can't go, just can't go. Like I did not survive all this to go back
That's
to
right.
that. And yeah.
And so what I would say to somebody who is going through that experience or wants to get out of their current, look for something that makes you happy. And then this is just so cliche, and I don't even want to say it, but look for something that makes you happy and get paid for doing it. But sometimes you don't know what that is. And this is where the side gig thing really, really comes in handy, because if you're not ready to leap, you can always take on something that you can do in your spare time, something you can do in your evenings and your weekends, that you may grow to like, that you may actually get yourself really good at, and be able to leave work. Imagine if we worked as hard for ourselves as we did for an employer, where would we be? Right? Every year we have the carrot in front of us as we're employees, is that either that employee evaluation or the potential raise, if you're lucky to be in a job that actually does those. There's always a carrot to run to, and with our bosses, we always try to please them. We work harder and harder and harder and harder, and sometimes we get ahead and sometimes we don't. And then sometimes the world completely ends on you, and you're standing there going, what the heck happened? I did my best. So imagine if you put that same effort into yourself, into your own business, what you could achieve.
that has been in my brain for the last several years. Is like, do I want to invest in somebody else's dream and make them money? Which is, I mean, which we all did it. I mean, I worked corporate for many years, or do not I now want to invest in me? And even though in the beginning it means not having enough of, or not having that extra flow of cash, and being very, but then I know that it's opening doors, and but you're so right. I mean, promotions and gigs, I've done this for many years, and it started off as a side gig. It's just okay, on the weekends, let me do this. And then eventually I found out that I was really good at events and promotions. For those of you out there, yes, I'm really good at talking to people in public.
No,
Surprise. I know, shocker. But yeah, I know.
it's so quiet. Such
So
a
shy,
mouse.
reserved, yes. But for everybody watching, we're halfway through the show. We're talking to Kevin, who's the managing director for APLGO. Uh, and please, if you have any questions, any comments, or any thoughts, join us. We had we had a hacker, so we normally don't get those a whole lot, but we've already blocked them. So for anybody out there, if you get any messages from certain Paul Peters, please just delete those and ignore him.
Paul again?
Paul Peters, yes, Paul Peters. It had to be a Peter. Let's talk a little bit more about what you.
One more thing I wanted to say on the previous topic, not on Peter's Peter. So the one thing I want to encourage people as you're looking for that side gig or doing something new, and someone reminded me of this yesterday. There's no such thing as failure. Every time that you do something and you don't succeed, it is an opportunity to learn and how to do better. The people who taught us about failure are the only time failure comes into our life is when we go to school, when we're in school and we're taught we either pass or we fail, right? That's not how life works when we get outside of school. There is no failure, right? There's only lesson. So don't worry about being a failure. Don't worry if you've never done it before. Even better, if you've never done it before, then really you can't fail. It's all a learning lesson, and you will get better at it, just like you did to get you where you are right now with your current occupation.
I grew up with that mentality. Is like yes or no. It's a yes or no. There was never a maybe or give it a try or like yes or no. You either did it, and if you didn't succeed the first time, it's particularly in how I grew up, there was like, okay, well, you already tried it once. That's it. You're done. I mean, had that happened, had I taken that thought now, I would not have this show now. I mean, we're in our 12th year now, so it's really exciting. So yeah, I get you. Let's talk a little bit about
the product.
Let's talk about the product.
For sure. Well, there's 18 different kinds. They are essentially what it is. If you want to pull one out, pull the sleeve out and show them, or do you not have one? I can do that.
No, this is the empty
That's
box.
the empty one. All right. So what's typically not typically, always in those boxes is a sleeve like this, and it's got like a lozenge. There's 15 lozenges in a sleeve, and there's an closed one. And so that's what the cellophane looks like, everyone. So the each of the lozenge or drops or candies, however you want to refer to them, have various different botanicals that have been infused in them. And what they actually do, imagine the botanicals, the plants, the flowers, the roots, the leaves, the stems, whatever part is being used. They get those from the source and they put them in this chamber, and they've developed this technology called accumulate assay. Essentially what happens is it's a centrifuge, so it spins them. The cells of the botanicals get stretched thin so they can get inside the cell and remove the DNA and the phytonutrients right from the botanicals. At the same time, they are charged with a negative ion. You know, when you go to the beach or after a rainstorm, a lightning storm, you go outside or you go to the beach and there's a certain sense, you feel better. There's a certain smell in the air. And after like lightning, even the grass is greener. That's the negative ion charges that happen on our planet all day, every day around the world. Thousands of lightning strikes hit the planet, and they negative charge the ground, which is basically the electrical power that the plants need to thrive and to be healthy. Well, essentially, when they do that to the botanicals that are in that centrifuge, it restores their vitality to fresh picked. So they're taking that life out of the plant, and then they infuse them into the candy mixture as it cools. And then they cut them up and they put them in these packages. They're hermetically sealed. And when you take them, you're popping it in under your tongue, and you're getting that fresh, vital DNA and phytonutrients directly to your blood. And it allows your cells to restore and revitalize, because it takes the information, it takes the DNA that's in that plant, and it uses it to do its whatever function that cell was intended for. So there are 18 different ones with 18 different recipes that help 18 different health concerns. The one that you showed is the one it's for immune system, it's for breathing, people with allergies. It helps with that. It basically, the botanicals in it, for your lungs, they expand your airways. So people with asthma and allergies find it easier to breathe. With the immune system, it's got an immune boosting in it. It boosts your T cells. It boosts your it's out of my brain. There's so many different benefits. There's 18. So there's a lot to try to remember. And quite frankly, I try not to remember them all, because I don't want to be just the expert on a product. Then everybody thinks that you need to be an expert on a product to.
Of course. I was expecting you to go through all of them, but if you're not going to, okay, whatever. But
we don't have that much time. Oh my goodness, 18.
What is again, because the show is about putting together, how did the product and you
my very good friend Jo Bell, she lives half the year in Texas and half the year in Michigan. Clearly the winters in Texas. We met about 20 years ago. She is a pastor with Metropolitan Community Churches. She came up to our church in Toronto, and she was hired to be like a project manager and to assist the senior pastor and that kind of stuff. We worked together on building our webcasting project for the church, where we were basically, previous to that, just not even broadcasting, we just had in-house services. We started that, and by the end of that first year, we had been broadcasting to 70 different countries. There was people watching us all over the world. So we were sending, and what MCC's mission is that everybody is welcome. It doesn't matter what your sexuality is, what your beliefs are. You can be Christian or non-Christian. It doesn't matter. You are welcome. And it was bringing that message across the world. And as a result, we were giving hope to people where there wasn't previously hope. It also started with the refugee program that they developed, and now it's one of the leading LGBT refugee programs in Canada. And so a lot of people from around the world found out about our church and the refugee program through that webcast. So that's how Joby and I connected.
Okay.
Flash forward 20 years later, she sends me that email on that day, March 2021. Yeah, March 2021. And I thought, you know what? We work together. I respect her. She has good judgment. I'll give this a try, and took a look at it. And with what I saw and with my respect for her, I decided to let's do this. What do I got to lose?
Yeah. So she's the winter Texan. That's what they call them in Texas.
Winter Texan?
Winter Texans, people who come down just for the winter.
Yeah.
Particularly down in South Texas, where when I used to live there, winter Texans is a very common thing. Okay.
Her partner is actually she is a Texan. Her partner is a Texan, and they run a retreat in Texas just outside of Austin in a place called Manor. And it's called Sanctuary, and it is a retreat for designed to welcome LGBT people who want to get away, who want to do either a religious retreat or just a retreat to get away. So they own a bunch of land down in Manor, and it's quite lovely.
We should have her on the show. Sounds
We
like
should. I'm sure she'd be more than willing to.
Please pass the message along.
I will.
What kept you? Because a lot of folks, we're just talking about, you come and you try something and you're like, okay, I've tried in my 53 years, I've tried many a different projects. I'm like, okay, if you're doing it, I'll try it. And then I'm in it, I'm like, not for me. And then I move on. What kept you working with APLGO?
The community, number one. It's a great group of people that I get to work with who are, some of them are connected to my business and some are not. We help each other out. Let me rephrase that. We don't help each other out. We support each other. We got each other's backs. If there's anything I need, any information I need that I don't know, I know that I can reach out and someone will have the answer for me. Or if I'm having a bad day or something like that, there's someone I can talk to who can relate to the things that I'm going through. So, number one. Number two, just the efficacy of the product, how well it's worked. I've seen so many people have such success. I have a woman in Northern Ontario. She's got COPD, and you might remember in the summer there was these major fires in Northern Ontario. She was being affected hugely by the smoke. She started taking one of the products called Air. It's changed her life. In fact, it's changed her life so much. This is what she's reported to me. I am not a medical professional. Seek your doctor's advice always. But she is taking one product called Air, and her test results on her lungs are showing improvement. It's never happened to her before. That generally doesn't happen when you have COPD. The opposite happens. So I know people who have reduced the amount of diabetic medication that they're on. I know people who have who had alopecia and their hair is growing back. People who have arthritis and they're able to move their hands and joints without pain. That sometimes, like when someone reports back to me the positive effects, I almost start crying because I get so wrapped up into, oh my gosh, I looking at it from a selfish point of view, help this person feel better. Like, isn't that to me, that's an amazing thing. I've never had that experience before. And on top of that, with all those feelings, I get paid well.
That's always a good motivator. Not only
Right?
do you do what you want, but you get paid for it. So I will definitely take that. I'm looking for a disclaimer as we were speaking. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot to bring that up. So let me just put this up for you folks, just because we want to make sure that since we're talking about medical and stuff. Just a disclaimer, we encourage, as a reminder, we ask that you please refrain from discussing or asking questions regarding personal medical history or specific treatments. If you have treatment-related questions, we encourage you to speak with your healthcare provider. What may work for some people may not be the right option for others. So please, anything, if you're watching this live or in replay, if you have any medical questions, please consult with your doctor before starting anything new.
100% agree with that.
Just as a heads up. But other than that, I have to say that, well, we'll get into the actual part, but I admired you for what you did or what you do, because I know that it's not an easy gig to do. Not everybody is good. First of all, not everybody is good at promoting a product. Not everybody. I know how to promote other people's products. I'm actually like that. I'm a horrible person for myself, and for anybody who knows me knows that I'm horrible at it. But to go from, and I'm just recapping what we've been talking about as we come up to the 20-minute mark. Coming from a place where you're like, I have this steady gig, I'm doing well. Oh wow, the world just shut down. What do I do now? And then shifting and trusting that the universe is going to guide you in the right direction, and that you have what you need to be able to accomplish the job. That takes a lot of guts, because I know a lot of people that have not recouped from the lockdown. They're still struggling to find their direction for them. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. And you know what? I would push back on the complicated or the difficult part. Anything difficult is here, right? With enough encouragement, with enough desire, you can achieve anything. I was talking to a woman yesterday, and she's like, I want to work on my challenges. And I said, well, why would you want to work on your challenges? You're just going to end up with really strong challenges. So tell me one of the things is your challenge. She goes, well, I'm really bad at time management. I said, who told you you're bad at time management? Why do you think you're bad at time management? Maybe you're not. You're managing your time the way you're supposed to manage your time. You've got yourself to a certain point in your life right now of success. Someone didn't place you there. You got there. So you've developed tools and tricks to help you get to where you need and get success, despite the fact that someone else thinks that you have bad time management. Stop thinking of bad time management. That's someone else's opinion. It's not yours.
Very true. All right, folks. He's being Kevin and schooling me on a comment, as he
I am schooling you on a comment.
Nobody does. I'm anticipating a visit to Canada, or his visit to California, so we can have these conversations in person. For those of you, I've never met some of my guests in person, so this will be.
It's the new world.
The new world. We're almost at a quarter till the ending of the show. We're 15 minutes in to the end. I'm sorry, 45 minutes in. This is about the time where I ask my guests to share some words of wisdom. So, Kevin,
you just did.
Yeah, but for the audience, you were throwing. I know you were throwing that just at me. So I know how shady you can be.
Oh no, I'm not shady. I can give shade.
Sorry, did I say that out loud?
Goodness.
I only encourage y'all to come to join Alignable, and I'll talk about that. Stop trying to run my show.
The Kevin and Daniel show.
Stop trying to run my show. This is my show, sir. So, what words of wisdom do you have to share with folks?
What words of wisdom? It's so much easier when it's not phrased in something as big as words of wisdom. I think we all have the power within us to do exactly what it is we want to do, and we need to stop listening to the people who tell us not. People who do are often told that they can't by people who don't do anything and just watch. So if you are taking the steps to do something new, you're already outside the box and you're doing something that most people won't do because the box is comfortable. And those who are inside that box don't want to be, when at work, when you have that person who makes fun of you because you may give suggestions in board meetings or in staff meetings, the person who kind of looks at you and and says, oh, that's the boss's favorite. They're trying to pull you down. They're trying to make sure that you don't make them look bad because they don't want to do the same effort that you're interested in doing. Those people do the same thing when you leave the box. So don't listen to the naysayers. Don't listen to the ones who've never done it, especially the ones who've never done it, say, oh, that'll never work. It'll never work for them because they say it. It'll work for you if you really want it. So that would be my word of wisdom.
That's awesome. Thank you. That kind of ding, 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 ding right now. So whatever. Shut up, dude.
It's all right. You're having a Rocky moment or something, right?
Yeah, we'll talk about it after the show. It's been a rough couple of days, but this is the website for folks to go check out, popandrop.biz. and we're going to show them the website. So,
Sure. So this is my personal website. Essentially, it is a brief information page. There is that video right there where we pose the question: what would you rather do? Would you rather take the smelly supplements, or would you take the candy ones that taste good? They taste like Lifesavers, or they taste like Jolly Ranchers, but they're all natural, and the sugar is low. So it's basically, which would you rather take? I've often said, when somebody opens up one of those bottle of supplements, you can smell it across the room as the lid comes off, because they're just nasty smelling. Well, these ones taste good. Why not get healthy on something that tastes good, as opposed to something you got to force yourself to take? So anyways, here you can request more info, and essentially that is going to open up a little survey you can fill out, and I will send you more information. Or you can actually just schedule time with me directly, and that'll take you directly to my Calendly link. And then you can choose either a half an hour or an hour to sit down, and I'll have a consultation. You tell me what your symptoms are. I'm not going to diagnose what you've got, or what the issue is, but I can definitely help you address symptoms. So you tell me what your symptoms are, and I'll know what drops to point you to.
Gotcha. And also, if you want to connect with him, check him out at his LinkedIn page. I'm going to take this off now. Kevin Scout. Oh, no, sorry. Kevin S is your middle initial, right?
S is my middle initial.
I tell you, face to go to school, folks. Stay in school. Be cool.
Stay in school. Be cool. It's Kevin S. Coutu, Canadian, CDN. All right.
You think I just saw it for the first time ever?
Right. Kevin Scout, you Canadian, is what it says.
Yes.
Kevin Scout, you Canadian.
And now we're talking about the Scouts. No, we're not.
No, we're not talking about the Scouts. He needs a minute. Right. He's got the Anderson Cooper giggles.
First it was the cough, and now it's the giggles. I tell you. But for everybody, I didn't put this at the beginning, but if you're interested in joining Alignable, just go to the website Alignable, begin your profile. I tell everybody that Alignable is where folks from LinkedIn go to party, because we do a lot of meet and greets. There's a lot of networking. I'm big on LinkedIn as well, but because I run the meet and greets and I do a lot of one-on-ones, you actually get a chance to really meet with people. And some of the meet and greets, like we met, are not even business related. We're just getting to know each other, which is actually kind of cool. So, so if you're interested, come and join us.
100%. I'm a huge supporter of Alignable. It's changed my business. I grew by 100%. As a result of the people that I've met on Alignable. I've also met some really amazing people, and I've also met Daniel, who's actually one of the amazing people.
He joined the group, and you know what you get. You have this, you know what you get. Like, this is
right.
it.
Totally right. And I made some like Daniel, I've made some good friends, and some great resources that I can reach out to people and find out what they're doing. And what's kind of cool too is you meet somebody who's doing something interesting, and you meet somebody else that's doing something interesting, and you find out, hey, you know what? They're kind of looking for each other, but they haven't found each other yet. So you're able to actually make that connection for them, so they can find success in what they're doing, and they can help each other out. I've benefited from that, and I've also given back to that. So that's probably one of the biggest strengths of Alignable.
Yeah. So if you're interested, if you're watching this and you're like, hey, I really want to connect people either in my industry or in my community. And I have to give props to Kevin, because for a long time it was LGBTQIA. And then when he joined the group, it was like, he actually schooled us, like he did earlier today, in the 2S group, which I was not aware of. And so not only are you coming into here, but you can report. You can give us your own information. You can join. You can be part of it, the growing process. And if you're part of the Latino group or Latinx group, or you're part of the LGBTQIA2S group, join us. And Kevin has filled in for me in the Latin group too, so it's really kind of cool.
It's true. It's true. Well, as I said, I got my my ancestor DNA checked, and I have 4% Iberian Peninsula. So
I think that's enough.
I think it's enough.
It's enough. I have 3% Irish. So
there you go. You should join the Irish group, the Irish X.
I claim my whiteness with that part. I'm like,
you claim your whiteness.
I was going to say something else, but I'll say it.
You claim your colonizer.
All my love for potatoes. But I feel like now we've gone into like the last segment, the last 10 minutes, and we're like, okay, let's just chill out.
Let's just chill out. Let's forget people are watching and just talk to each other. No,
right. And I was going to say, this is really what prompted it. With that prompted it. We're for those of you, Kevin, we as he said, even on Unalignable, we try to support each other. So the admins, whenever we can, there's 2 groups a month, 2 meetings a month, and we try to support. So cheers to Eddie, who's the co-admin in the Latinx group. But we try to support you. And whenever Kevin and I are in a meetup together, it tends to become the Kevin and Daniel show all of a sudden, because we're just in this little conversation, and we just don't care who else is listening and watching.
And they're welcome to pipe in if they want. In fact, we encourage them to. I think some people are intimidated, although I don't know why.
I would.
Of course you would. That's why we connected.
Yeah, I'd be like, oh, but as long as we're talking about and we have about 8 minutes left over. As long as we're talking about the LGBTQIA2S groups and businesses, and do you believe that being part of the AlbaFed community makes it more difficult to start your own businesses or be a business owner?
Depends on the sector, but yes. Short answer is yes. At least to be a out member. There is we're not there yet where it is a safe assumed safe space. That's the reason why the LGBT group exists within Alignable. Sorry, I didn't do all the letters. I'm really bad at that, even though I added the 2S. My intentions are good, just my brain does not always meet up. But it's there because it's a safe place where people don't have to explain who they are, what their relationships are, even before they open their mouth, before they start talking about business, if they want to be authentically open in their lives and business. So it's a safe place. And if your business focuses on the LGBT community, then clearly it's easy. It's much easier, but most of us don't. And I have to say, there are times where I edit and I don't offer that up, my sexuality up, as thank you for putting all the letters. I don't put that out there in the very beginning, because I know the reaction, and I also have a responsibility to a team. I would never want to negatively impact the success of one of my team members. So I'm very cautious of that.
That makes sense. Yeah, I think it's unfortunate that I can't always just walk up to people and be like, here it is. And then there's times, I don't know if you agree with this, there's times where my personal life has nothing to do with the business that I'm conducting. Like it doesn't. And people will later ask, like, well, I didn't know. I'm like, well, it's not on the resume. It's not what I'm selling. Like when I'm coaching people, like it doesn't always have to. It's not my beginning. Like, hi, I'm Daniel. I'm gay, and I'm going to be your coach. Like it has nothing to do with that. Or can I host your live stream? has nothing to do with my sexuality. And it's unfortunate. I mean, yes and no, I guess. Yeah.
No, I totally agree with you. It's just you read the room. And I think that's one thing our community adopts very well is to reading the room, which actually I think gives us a bit of some people think a weakness that actually turned out to be a strength. We're very aware, we're very observant, tend to be. And as a result, we can read rooms really well to find out what's a safe space and what's not a safe space. It also allows us to be observant to how to approach potential difficult situations and stuff. So for something that was a weakness, maybe when I was younger, at least I saw it as, and so did many others, is now probably one of my biggest strengths.
And add to that, the Latino part is knowing when to. And I think a lot of cultures do that. Um, when I lived in Texas, there was parts where it was like, "Hi, I'm Daniel G. Garza," and then there were parts where I showed up in Texas, like dropping all the G's. How you doing? And then there were certain places where I could be Latino and speak Spanglish and be comfortable in it, but you can't do it everywhere. And
We mask.
yeah, and but like you said, I as an actor now, they're like, "Can you do Texan?" I'm like, "I can do Texan. I got you." And can you do like proper? I'm like, "I can speak proper English as much as it can come out." But just for the record, folks, I've played 5 fruit vendors in 5 different projects, and I went to school. I took courses in diction and Peter Piper picked the pickle peppers, and to come to LA and then, "Can you do a Mexican accent?" And I'm like, "I did not go to school for that," but yeah. So
He's got his own fruit vendor costume, and he
I
brings it to
do.
every audition because he knows they're going to ask for it.
Look, just wait. As soon as I become really famous and I'm doing the round of interviews, they're gonna find the projects because I've never found them. I don't know where they went. But there are 3 projects out there. This is gonna be like a trivia game or some kind of scavenger hunt. There are 3 projects out there where I'm wearing the exact same outfit in 3 different productions. There was a background in a movie, a commercial, and a TV show, and I'm wearing the exact same thing. And one day, folks, when I'm really famous, it's gonna come out. So yeah, there you go. We're down to the last 3 minutes. I don't know why I threw that story in there, but it was
No, it's a great
important.
story. I made you throw that story in there.
Even when you're not bossy, you're bossy.
Not bossy.
We're down to the last 2 minutes. Anything else that I didn't ask that you'd like to share before we leave?
Supplementation, regardless of what you use, is I feel it's super important. The food that we eat today is not the same food that our grandparents ate. It doesn't have the same nutrient level. We've depleted our soils of vital nutrients, and even when they're fertilized, they're only fertilized with 3 ingredients out of like 50 some odd different minerals and supplements that should be inside the soil that makes the plant purely vital. And so therefore we're not getting that. So regardless of what you do, take a supplement of some kind, take supplements of some kind. You need that to keep your health. Food creates health. Food also creates sickness. So you need to have a good diet. I think personally that you should take one that is easily absorbed and where you get 99% of the ingredients. Failing that, do anything you can to get anything, because anything is better than nothing.
Thank you. And I do not work for the company. I'm not being sponsored by the company, but I did purchase these, and I'll admit I'm not as consistent as I said, which they're really easy. Just pop them up, throw them in your mouth, and do it. But I'm horrible at some things. But yes, no, Kevin did not pay me to say this or do it. But I bought these, and they actually taste really good. When I sit here at my desk and I'm like, "Oh yeah, the pill." It's like a candy. So if you have a sweet tooth like me, they really do taste like it. But my suggestion is be consistent. Jump into this and be consistent. So that would be
100% right.
my feedback. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you
So much. I'm going to put you in the green room while I say goodbye to everybody, but don't go anywhere.
All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Everybody else, I want to thank Kevin for being on the show. For all of you, 2024, we are expecting some really great things. We encourage you, all the things that we're doing. Remember, if you're watching Christian and Daniel on Wednesdays, remember Christian has his own coaching program now. So spiritual coaching and mediumship consultations. He does one-on-ones, groups, in persons, and virtual. Email him at cpramir@att.net. Oh, it needs the point there, but you get it. Also, Grumpy Bunny in the College Game, still for sale. $25 signed and delivered. This covers the cost of delivery. And if you let me know who is it for, I will autograph it before I send it out. You can find those on my webpage at littlemexicanproductions.com/grumpybunny. And if you're in the Culver City or in the Southern California areas, we've got them for sale at Awakenings at Village Well Booked and Coffee. And I've got my own coaching program, transpersonal coaching, identifying, acknowledge, and remove barriers. Email me at DanielGGarza at littlemexicanproductions.com for more information. Please go check out our friend Richard Wayne Kilgo II, Professional Intuitive Services. You can find him at Awakenings, or for more information, call 949-457-0797, or find him at his website at rwk2.com. He does awesome sound baths. I totally recommend him. I've done him, and he does other stuff. He's awesome. He's who I go for spiritual services. So I guarantee it. Anyway, folks, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you joining us. Here's to an awesome 2024. We've got some great guests lined up for y'all. Please join us. Remember, 10 a.m., share with your friends. Everybody on Facebook and LinkedIn, on YouTube, scroll down, hit that subscribe button, and get notifications every time there's a new post on the page. For now, I want to thank everybody. I want to thank Kevin. And hey, this is Daniel Garza saying, put it together. See you next time.